From Anshe Sfard Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Baalotcha, Smooth Transitions. If we look at Parshat Baalotcha, everything seems to be going just fine, everything's set up, and all of a sudden, everything falls apart. And the first problem is, we have mitonanim, we have complainers. And I'd like to focus on the second problem, the mixed multitude among us. Hitavu tava, they desired a desire. They didn't desire anything particular, they just had some kind of amorphous desire for something or other, for some excitement. Even the regular Jews, not the mixed multitude, they too began to complain, who's going to give us meat? So Rashi says, wait a second. He says, V'tzonu bakar. He says, when the Jews went out of Egypt, they went with tzonu bakar, mikneh kaved mo. They went out with great amount of flock. We know that Reuven and Gad, at the end of the 40 years, they had tremendous herds of sheep. What do you mean they don't have meat? Why is Moshe saying we can't find enough meat? What's going on? By the way, if you wonder, how can the Jews be in the desert and be grazing all the sheep? Don't worry, they're not really in the desert. They're not in the Sahara. They're in the Midbar. It's a place of some desolation, but not complete desolation. There are shrubs in the Negev, in Jordan, and surely there was enough for the flocks to eat. Rabbi Shlomo Goren, former chief rabbi of Israel, said that the meat shortage was a little different than what we think it was. Actually, there was no meat shortage at all. The reason they were complaining about meat is because they couldn't wait. They had no patience. What does that mean? We're told in the Torah that if you don't bring your sacrifices to the temple, to the tabernacle, it's a terrible sin. In the desert, the Jews could only eat meat if they brought part of it as a shlamim, as a minor sacrifice to God. Part of the meat had to go to God. There was no such thing as chulin, as eating plain basar tava, meat that they wanted to eat. So whenever they began to travel, as they did in our parsha, when they went from their encampment at Sinai and they began to travel on their way to Israel, there was a problem. The temple wasn't set up. If the tabernacle is not set up, you can't bring offerings. If you can't bring offerings, you can't eat meat. And that's why the Jews began to complain, we can't eat meat. What are we going to do? There are a few days we'll be traveling, a few hours we'll be traveling. We can't have meat for lunch. What are we going to do? The Jews became impatient. Could they find meat? Would there be meat later? Yes, there would be. But they didn't have enough patience just to wait just a little bit. Now we know that this problem of not being able to wait just a little bit is a major moral flaw of a human being. Right? The Gemara says the worst thing is Bo'el Arusato B'Veit Chamiv. Person can't wait, he's going to get married tomorrow. He does an act of immorality right before the wedding. He couldn't wait those few hours. Well, the two greatest sins ever committed were just a matter of moments. The human being had not been on the earth for more than a few hours, and what happened? He did the sin of the first fruit. He had only been alive for several hours, couldn't wait. The sin of the golden calf, the greatest sin of the Jewish people, the primal sin. What happened? We couldn't wait for Moshe to come back. If we just waited a few more hours, Moshe was coming home. But they couldn't wait. It's a typical moral problem, the inability to wait, to be able to cool it and wait just a little bit. Now, the Jews in the desert, they were going through a transition. I mean, they were going from a period where they were all surrounding Sinai, and they had to wait till the camp set up. But it was that period of transition between the encampments. That's when the Jews got themselves into trouble. Who was the expert on transitions? Aaron. Aaron, it says, Melamed Shaloshina, that Aaron did exactly as was commanded, as it says at the beginning of our parsha. And Rashi says, Shaloshina, Aaron did exactly as commanded. He didn't change, perhaps during the transitions, even when there was dismantling of the ark, dismantling of the tabernacle. He could still maintain that continuity even as the menorah was covered and things were moving on, he was able to maintain that continuity. Or as the Torah, as the tabernacle and the ark came to a rest, uvnucho yomar, as it says in our parsha, as we say, we put away the Torah. When the Torah rest, God said, Moshe said, Shuva Hashem, Revot Yisrael. Shuva, we hope that all the tribes, all the thousands of troops can come home. We hope they come home. We hope Gilad Shalit comes home. We hope all of our boys come home. But not only that, but Rashi says, it also relates to Shuva Vanachat. We hope that as we come back to the tabernacle comes back to its place, its resting place. We hope we'll be able to find that peace of mind, to be able to find some composure, the shalva, because in a period of flux, we lose our balance, we lose our moral balance. We hope we can get grounded again, to come back to where we're supposed to be again in the warm embrace of the tabernacle and the encampment. Periods of transitions are not easy, but sometimes we just have to wait a little bit for that transition to be over. Transitions in our own lives, in different periods in our lives, transitions within our professional lives, within our personal lives. We need to be able to just wait. If we just learn to wait, to be calm, to shuva, banachat, a little bit of calm in our lives, even as we're making transitions, to maintain that peace of mind, even those difficult moments of transition, then and only then, be able to maintain that continuity, to maintain our moral composure, our moral fiber, and maintain it on a consistent basis. The Holy Land is not far off. It's only 11 days away. They just have to wait just a little bit till the tabernacle comes to a rest. But they couldn't do it. They found they were restless. They started complaining. They started going wild. Our job is not to be like that Safsuf, not to be like the Mitonanim, not to just complain, to have that sense of complaining for complaining sense. Hitavu tava, that we want something. We're not sure what it is, but we want something. That something is coming. It's coming and the next time you daven Shachris. It's coming next time you go to shul. It's coming next time you open a page of Gemara. That we can regain our composure. If we can just regain our composure, maintain our composure between one holy period and the next, one holiday and the next, then and only then we'll be able to maintain a continuity and a flow to our lives that hopefully will give us that feeling of shuva v'nachat, feeling of comfort. Shuva Hashem Avodo Fe Yisrael. That's our prayer. Let God give a sense of calm, not a sense of complaining, not a sense of desiring some desire, a sense of peace of mind, that we can go from one day to the next. And even in periods of transition and periods of flux, periods where we don't have the same anchors we usually have, the moral anchors, we're able to continue and maintain not only our physical and psychological composure, but our moral composure as well. Thank you for joining us here today for our discussion of Parshat Balorcha. Please join us each week and please look at past archives, our previous discussions, both on YouTube and YU Torah as well. Thank you so much to Jason Lefkowitz for making today's presentation possible. And join us again here at the Anshe Sfar Bethel Emet Congregation for further discussions. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.